motion picture experiences are the ones that grab you and move you in some sort of way, that emotionally involve you.
We want everyone to be entertained, obviously, but I want people to walk away with something from this movie. And so our themes are very strong, and they're very emotional themes. It's the story of a boy who's coming to understand love, understand brotherhood.
All good literature movies are about transformation. In the case of Brother Bear, a transformation is affected by walking in another's shoes. What a wonderful lesson that is.
It's the kind of a movie where the hairs on the back of your neck are going to go off at the end. You won't even be able to prevent that from happening because it really has such a deep levels of meaning in it.
I think that the sentiment of the film is forgiveness and compassion and understanding.
I'm sorry, Coda.
It's a good message. It's just about love and care and coming together.
I love
You.
I'm proud to be part of it. I thought it was a really good story, and I thought it was one of those movies that makes the world a better place.
During Lion King, Michael Eisner sort of put his hand up and said, do we have any more animal movies in production? You know, Lion King was so great. Wouldn't it be great if we made a movie set in North America about bears? And Aaron Blaise, one of the directors, said, you know, I'm interested in drawing bears. I've been to Alaska a few times, and I like bears.
I love the natural world. I do a lot of painting, landscape painting, animal painting outside of my animation job. And so I love that world, and so that was my inspiration coming into this film.
Aaron had a great character background. He animated the Gang of Three on Mulan, he animated Raja on Aladdin, and he animated young Nala on Lion King. So he had a great character sense.
Just go to a nice pristine shot of the two moose.
Bob came on the story about a year into development.
Can you back up just a little bit further?
What's odd is Bob, Aaron, and I all started on the same day 14 years ago.
Feels like 20 years.
Yeah, I know.
Back when you were 13.
He was 13, I was 15, and he was 40.
And I'm still 40.
And as we started to work with him over and over, we really found we had a great story partner to join the team.
I've always grown up with animals, and I've always wanted to know what they think and feel, and what we're doing is kind of just an insight into that animal world.
We did a lot of research on Native American myths and legends and that kind of thing. We discovered a lot of transformation stories.
We found that they had these inherent stories of people that were transformed into animals in order to be taught important life lessons. Often they were transformed into a bear.
Because the bear goes into the cave at wintertime and comes back out and kind of does this miraculous rebirth each season. They found that very spiritual.
It plays into animation so well just because it's a physical transformation. You get to see a character change from a human form into a bear form.
It's a sort of myth that actually is quite universal throughout the world. It's compelling because it's magical.
Every Disney film is a transformation.
Now, as far as growth in every main character.
Exactly.
They go from being flawed to learning their flaws and coming out the other ends.
We have some films that are more literal transformations, obviously like Beauty and the Beast and Pinocchio.
Native Americans have a great respect for the animal world and just the world around them. And we felt very much this was one of those kind of origin stories of how they came to look at animals as their brothers, bears as their brothers.
He needs me.
It pitches as a very serious film. If you think about Lion King and how Lion King might be pitched, it might pitch as a really serious film too.
Like The Lion King, this process was unusual because it was an original story.
It's incredibly difficult because you have no boundaries. You can pick and choose from anything.
You want to create a story for yourself, and so we're trying so hard to create this great, beautiful, poignant, emotional story.
The great spirits reveal to us a totem that helps guide us through our lives.
We meet with our executives and we meet with our story teams, and sometimes you have as many as 20 or 30 people in a room, and everyone has an opinion that counts.
It goes all the way up to the top to Michael Eisner, and he's very much involved in the process.
More often than not, it makes the movie better.
It just takes a long time getting there.
It sure does.
I think it's really great.
You realize what a team can do that's better than an individual can do.
No, I'll do it myself. Put it back.
Maybe it's been a fight, but you would call it a great experience.
You got a little spit right there.
The biggest story transformation was originally we had two older bears making the journey together.
Kenai had met a big bear named Grizz along his journey. And Grizz was voiced by Michael Clark Duncan, who was just terrific and had so much charisma and warm, welcoming voice for Kenai. And he was the bear that Kenai met along the way and traveled.
That was one of the few things at that time that was really working in the film. He was a great voice. It was a great, big, boisterous, loving character. And all the story guys were saying, you know, we got to get rid of him.
Oh, we would get into these really heated debates, and it was really difficult.
Michael Eisner, I think, said we got to have the bear's got to be lovable. You know, we can't have this big guy.
Bob and I finally came to the realization, it's like, look, you know, everybody else is telling us this, and we're the only ones fighting it, so maybe there's something up here.
But eventually we said, you know what, maybe it'd be more appealing if we gave Kenai, instead of an older brother in Grizz, we gave him a younger brother in Coda. And that appeal of a young, innocent, affable young kid is something we thought the audiences would eat up.
And it turned out to be much better. It worked out great for the film.
I don't think I've ever worked on anything in my life in which some idea didn't come along that you finally had to break down and say, you know, that's better than what I could have done. The creative process is difficult.
I think we're both extremely proud of what's there. But through the process, I don't know that what's there is what would have ended up there if we would have just, you know, if it was just Chuck, Bob, and myself making this film. I think it's probably better than what we would have done. That's the beauty of this process, though, is that it's such a collaborative process that everybody brings something to it. And the people that we work with are some of the best in the business, and so it's just so great to be able to have all of them bring so much to the story and just build it and build it and build it, and everyone just builds on themselves, and it's an incredible process.
I always wanted a brother.
What's great about Disney films is that they're always metaphors for something else, especially, you know, animal pictures. And there's a lot of themes that run through this story. There's, you know, you can find themes of forgiveness, you can find themes of brotherhood.
But now that I'm older, I know it's about being a leader and keeping an eye on you two.
The idea of brothers was constant throughout, and this idea of brotherly love.
Just be patient, Kenai.
We definitely wanted the relationship between the three brothers to be real. Both of us have a younger brother, and Aaron did the exact same things that I did to my younger brother. We used to sit on them and beat their chest. And I mean, a scene right from the movie, Aaron did it to his brother where Denahi dangles a big loogie over Kenai.
No.
I did the same thing to my brother.
No.
They wrestle and pull and nudge and they push each other. I'm a middle brother, so I got at both ends. I got picked on by my older brother to no end, and I teased my younger brother to no end.
Just tie it up.
Just tie it. It's fun to do, to try to create this real brotherhood between the three, where they're just constantly tormenting each other, but you also knew that they loved each other very much.
Guarantee it.
We also have the two Moose brothers from the beginning.
Rod, go away. You're breaking my concentration, eh?
My sister's actually a moose. So I drew on it. I have one sister who is nothing like Dave.
And I have a brother who's nothing like Rick. And I grew up very close with him. But I've known this guy for 25 years, and he's like a brother. So we relate to each other like brothers. And, you know, I don't see him for a while, fine.
From now on, he's my new brother. You can't do that. Sorry, you've been replaced with my dear brother. Gee, I forget your name.
One thing that really drew me is their warmth as brothers.
I think you're the gentler brother, and I'm the honker.
You never, for a moment, thought that these two weren't close.
I can change.
They have the qualities of many brothers. A little bit of a rivalry, a little bit of antagonism, but at the end, they really love each other.
Coda, don't be afraid.
Kenai's lesson in the film is learning brotherly love.
He becomes a big brother to this little lost bear and finds out that he needs to kind of grow up himself and take responsibility for his actions in life.
No, brother, left.
I think ultimately the message of Brother Bear is when we are faced with choices in life, if we approach them from a place of love and compassion rather than fear and hate, you'll most likely make the right decision.
Kenai!
there's a lot of emotion, a lot of ideas, and a lot of lessons that we want people to come away with from this film. If they can get just half of what I want them to get, then we're doing pretty good.
A character's performance in an animated film is really a joint partnership between the animator, who draws him visually, and the voice actor that brings the character to life.
You're just a cub. When you're older, you'll understand.
The soul of the film, the heart of the film, is really the character of Kenai. And we auditioned over 100 different actors for the role.
You nervous?
Excited.
We knew Kenai had to be flawed in a way so that he would go out and kill a bear, but that you felt compassion for in some way as well. And what I loved about Joaquin's performance in Gladiator was, here's a guy, he's a villain of this picture, he's notorious, but yet you felt for that character. And we thought, that's what we want.
You know about the Great Spirits?
Well, I think some of the basic design principles, we have Kenai's proportions. When we design the character, he has a fuller hood on, which sort of mimics sort of that mane or plume of hair on a bear. His head shape with his hair is more similar to a bear's head, and he's got shorter legs, and the length of his jacket will kind of give that impression even more. His legs are shorter to come and mimic that bear feel.
Other great characters in the film.
Just because his totem is wisdom doesn't mean he's wise.
The oldest brother, Sitka, is played by D.B. Sweeney.
It's not about how fast you can run or how far you can throw a spear.
We had heard D.B. in Dinosaur. He played the voice of Aladar.
People see you as a man because of what's inside you.
He's got this real kind of deep,
this real gravelly, earthy, strong voice.
Knock it off.
The Sitka design is that he's larger than his other brothers. We want him to be appealing. He needs to be masculine so that you could get the sense that he is the leader of the family.
The middle brother is Denahi, who's voiced by Jason Reyes, the original Simba on Broadway.
Just make sure you get that basket tied up, oh great one.
Jason does a great job at just creating this very tormented, crazed guy, on top of, this fun, kind of a loving brother in the beginning of the story.
Killing that bear is wrong.
We wanted to make the design of the character convincing. There are certain facial features that are very distinctive among Inuit peoples, people we call Eskimos.
Hey, will you two knock it off?
We did a lot of research on their costumes, as well as their tools, weapons, kayaks, that sort of thing.
Even now, you got to kind of remind yourself that these are all just drawings up on the screen. It's not a real world. But you've lived with it for so long, and you've projected yourself into the minds of these characters and everything that they do pretty much become real.
Hey, Coda, come here!
When you start on an animated film, you're always hoping to get a good voice, and this time I got really, really lucky. Both Jim Jackson and I, who worked on the Kenai character, Jim as a human and me as a bear, got to work with Joaquin Phoenix. Joaquin's great because he has this huge range of emotion.
Keep all that cuddly bear stuff to a minimum, okay, kid?
So I enjoyed playing the voice of Kenai a lot. He's a very real character. He's flawed and at times almost unlikable, but I think that that's something that we can all identify with because nobody's perfect. And I think seeing him come to an understanding of himself and his world is a beautiful thing.
It was probably the 5th or 6th most coldest day in my entire life.
Our biggest score, our most adorable character was Coda,
Say it with me. Coda.
voiced by Jeremy Suarez.
I got some moves.
He's just got so much charm and so much appeal and so much fun. You can't help but fall in love with him, which is why, when Kenai does, you're right there with him.
I thought of Coda mostly as a boy, like say about 4 or 5 years old. As kids, there's a lot of extraneous movement, tend to overdo a lot of things, quick switches of attention. So I tried to kind of bring that bubbling, kind of moving quality to him as a kid.
Flying Fury of Death!
Jeremy's a real pro. He gives us all kinds of different takes.
Flying Fury of Death!
different kind of points of view.
He really brought that character to life and has such a great energy and spunk. I remember doing one session where we actually worked together. He really just helped my performance out so much.
Can I talk to you for a second?
There's one scene in particular where Joaquin messed up on one of his lines.
He goes, you and your friend Binky. I'm like, it's Bucky, so get it right. And they put it in.
I don't care about the time you and Binky found, the world's biggest pine cone ever.
First of all, his name's Bucky, not Binky.
We just thought, man, this is great. We fell out of our chairs laughing.
Somebody totally improv right in the room.
Yeah.
And we just were able to use it right in the movie, which was awesome.
Michael Clark Duncan.
Oh, got you right there.
He plays this huge, monstrous grizzly bear. And in person, he's a huge, monstrous person. I mean, just physically, the man, I don't know that I've ever met anybody as big as him. But he's this big, gentle giant.
Let's get a back seat or something. I look like you hunted me.
One of the things we always thought would be interesting is, when you go into an animal world, just like anyone coming into our world, you might find people from different countries, different dialects, and that kind of thing. And we thought it'd be great to have these two Canadian moose.
My name's Rut. This is my brother, Took.
Took is Dave Thomas.
And Rudd is Rick Moranis.
How's it going, Bear Boy?
And, smallish bear?
They're the stars of the movie.
Excuse me? I don't believe I heard what you said.
Right?
That's what we were told.
It seems that way.
We're the comic relief in the movie. I mean, you wouldn't know it from this particular interview, but, we are the comic relief.
He's always my comic relief.
It's not as easy as it looks. Now just watch what I do, okay?
We set out to make real moose. We set out to do them as accurately as possible. However, the story team ultimately had a different idea.
Yoga.
Shift into salutation to the sun.
We had a lot of fun designing them because the moose themselves are funny-looking animals. Just kind of made up of
spare parts.
Yeah, pretty much.
Big trunks.
Huge ears.
Stubby tails.
Long legs.
Big hooves.
These huge necks.
Big antlers.
Much too big for any living creature.
Big noses, big snouts.
You went too far that time.
You're describing your character. My character is far more sleek and better looking than that.
Crazy! Gesundheit.
No. Okay.
Are you okay?
Rick and Dave, they both screw up their faces quite a bit like this, And it's tough with a moose to get that because their noses are out here.
We try to incorporate a little bit of the actors into the characters also. Rick has this kind of a large lower lip. We tried to put into Rudd a little bit.
Dave's got big brows that he likes to use quite a bit, and so we kind of tried to mix those guys with a moose at the same time, and strangely enough, got something kind of funny looking.
I think they got his eyes really well.
It made him more dumb.
Why am I even talking to a couple of dumb moose?
No, we're squirrels, eh? Wolverine.
My character's a little smarter.
My character's definitely smart, I think.
Mine's in charge, though. And being dumber and in charge is not a good combination.
What can I say?
You're a big, selfish, reckless hoofer, and you're never gonna change. What? I'm fed up with it, eh?
All right, his character's a smart one.
The directors guided us through the whole process, whether it was at the beginning when they were telling us the story of the movie, or actually recording where they were directing our line readings and responding to our improvisations, and we worked very closely with them.
Hey, he's coming back.
In many respects, the acting required for animation, it seems, is kind of the antithesis of what I'm accustomed to. It's more emphatic, it's bigger. And Aaron and Bob were so wonderful in helping me find the character and the character's voice. I really couldn't have done it without them.
The movie turned out great, and it's not because of Bob and me, it's because it's an incredible team there. It really comes together really, really well at the end.
We've worked on this film for 5 years. And you put so much into all the characters in the film. Seeing them drawn and designed and cast with these great voices, and they take on a life of their own, and then they're just out in the world.
It's like sending your kids off to college.
Yeah, right.
Okay, we hope we raised you up right.
Yeah.
Be sure
See you in the sequel.
See you later.
Okay, you guys. I guess we'll just catch up with those guys later, eh?
We're here to share it all. The overall look of the film is probably best described as painterly naturalism. And what that means is when you go out and paint plein air with an easel, with your eyes, without a camera, you see colors and values much differently than a camera photographs them. And you see things probably a lot truer.
The style of the backgrounds is amazing because they were really, Rob and the background painters, JG, were really able to capture the raw roughness of the area. So what they were able to do in their painterly style, they describe these shapes just like a big boulder. They'll just do one single brush stroke.
Jay, our background stylist, he's a very honest painter. He's Chinese and he was trained by Russian painters. That whole movement is just such a wonderful painting movement. They're not trying to be flamboyant for the sake of flamboyancy.
You could see that every background was painted by a master artist. And it's just a piece of art after a piece of art.
Aaron and Bob, our directors, really wanted to harken back to Bambi, especially because that's the touchstone for us at Disney when it comes to animal films. It was done so beautifully, and it really reflects the feeling of what it must be like to be out in that environment. And Aaron and Bob really wanted the backgrounds, the animation, and the performances to reflect that sensibility.
Bambi had its own look that's rather different and was much more intimate than this. This is a picture about a big country, and Bambi was much more concentrated in the nooks and crannies of the forest. But it represents nature in a really powerful way.
We actually did 2 research trips, and we went to Alaska, and we did a lot of research along the coast, along the interior. Denali National Park was a huge inspiration.
We also went to Yosemite in California, and really the film is trying to capture the idealized best of North America. So you have California, you have Wyoming. We could have gone, we went to the Canadian Rockies. So there's great big sequoia trees in some of the sequences. There's these fantastic ice glaciers that were inspired from things we saw in Alaska. There's a geyser field that comes from being in Yellowstone and seeing that. The Grand Teton Mountains are at the beginning of the nighttime on the Mammoth sequence.
Savage River, we went on this really misty, cold, rainy day, and that had a lot of influence on When Kenai Tracks the Bear. That's that location. The rock is a real sort of shale-like rock, very splintered, very fragmented. It was just a real raw area. Of course, the geyser fields, when they're having to get to the salmon run, they have to go through this giant geyser field. To see Yellowstone and to see these big, bubbling vats of super hot water with these incredible colors in them, and these reds, these lichens and stuff that would grow, that looked like somebody came and painted the ground. They were so bright. That really influenced that sequence, Valley of Fire.
I can point to different areas of the film and say, oh, that's when we were in California, that's when we were in Wyoming. The artists really did a great job of capturing that and making it alive in the film.
From an animation standpoint, from a character standpoint, I got a lot out of drawing the animals and getting their attitudes and their character and that kind of thing. And from a landscape and layout type of standpoint, Bob, can probably answer more of that.
It's just incredible how big the landscapes are there. Just the size of the trees, the size of the glaciers, the scope and scale is incredible. And our movies see scope for the most part, so that kind of location really lent to that format.
C-scope being, a very, very wide screen.
Kenai starts off not understanding this other world, this bear world. So his world, his viewpoint is very narrow, so our aspect ratio is very narrow. It's 1:8:5, which is pretty standard.
So, Kenai, you've decided to join the living.
When Kenai wakes up as a bear in the animal world, the film opens up to CinemaScope. The colors become richer, the sounds become fuller, and he can talk to animals for the first time.
You just talked.
So as a bear, he's seeing more, just because his character is starting to see more and understand more.
The transformation scene was one of the first scenes that got put into production. And in this natural world that we created, we wanted to take this natural phenomenon of the Aurora Borealis or Northern Lights and make it magical.
This sequence, more than any other sequence in the movie, we went into it with really no vision for what we wanted on the back end of it. We really, really depended on the people that we're collaborating with to really help us out. It definitely went through a lot of development because it did start out as kind of horrific, and we wanted it to be something beautiful, actually. Because we knew Kenai's emotion is like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And he's really scared. But from a visual standpoint, from an audience standpoint, we really wanted it to be something just huge and grand and beautiful.
Because it's a good thing that's happening to Kenai. It's a positive thing. It's not a negative thing. So we want it to be very spiritual and very positive.
And just through the process and really pushing the people that we had helping us, it really worked. We both work here because we just love the quality that we are expected to create. Nothing less than first rate, you know, is done. And so we really enjoy doing it.
I'm going back to work. I really enjoyed the process in Tarzan of writing the songs and becoming a team player. So when they asked me to do this project, Brother Bear, which was in its early stages, I said yeah, straight away.
It's a little intimidating in the beginning, you know, working with Phil Collins but I remember in the very beginning, you know, getting started, he said, you know, I want to be one of the story guys. Just think of me as one of the story guys.
Yeah, we're real lucky getting Phil Collins because he is so collaborative.
We came and pitched him just a broad outline of the story, and he loved it. And he went home and wrote Brother Bear.
I wrote that, and you know, I submitted it, and it was just the beginning of a long journey. But it was something that I desperately wanted to do, but was still a little scared. You know, I was scared the first time when I did Tarzan because I'd never done it before. And now I was scared of repeating myself and doing the same things all over again. Just play it again.
And the advantage on Tarzan was they had a set story. We had the novel you kept referring back to. In this process, it was very organic and it changed a lot throughout. So this is an original story, and it's going to change 100 times.
The original story part is so difficult because you're continually trying to figure out from a plot standpoint how things should go, and I think that that's just part of what music's about. We have to stay very flexible.
So certain songs would come and go.
And of course, as soon as you change something, it has a domino effect on the thing that you started with. And that can be exciting, and it can also be frustration. Can you just play, just one time, just play me the very beginning after the roll into the very first film? I've just lost my mind a bit.
I remember one time we had this big screening in California, and we were talking about this fishing song, and it wasn't quite working.
Come on, Kenai, let me show you around.
The idea was that when Kenai arrived to the Bears, they were all like, it was a party. It was party, party, party. They kind of referred to it as the frat party. So I wrote a song, Eat, Swim, Fish and Play is all we do. Every day's a one long party.
Phil calls my house, and we live in this place where celebrities do not call my house, but Phil Collins called, and my wife answered the phone.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the fantastic stuff that happens. I called him about asking a question about something else, and his wife Kim said, yeah, it's a shame about the fishing song being cut. It's one of my favourite things. And I said, what are you talking about? She said, oh, you don't know?
And then I get on the phone and have to, you know, quickly backpedal with Phil and explain to him, well, the Bears aren't noble enough, and we want to change the point of view. And you know, by the end of the phone call, he was teasing me about it. I mean, he's a great sport.
I arose to the occasion and wrote something else and said, how about this then? I was in the swimming pool, it was in the summer, and I started singing, welcome to our family time, welcome to our happy to be time. This is our festival and best of all. I thought, I'm becoming a Disney writer. This is our festival and best of all. I thought that was great.
Come here. Look at you.
And because they kind of wanted something that was really soulful, and so soul to me is the Stax Atlantic Motown kind of thing. You know, dum 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 dum.
Every bear belongs here.
They loved the message of the song, which is very family. I think it's, for me, it's Phil's best lyrics in the movie.
There was a great song called This Can't Be My Destiny in the middle of the film that was from Kenai's point of view.
It was basically like a discontent, a song of discontent, which kind of grated on everybody eventually.
Ultimately, it was a glass half empty kind of song. It didn't make the middle part of the film as buoyant, as light as we needed it to be. So we flopped it and we changed the point of view on it and made it a song from Coda's point of view.
Tell everybody I'm on my way. New friends and new places to see.
And this glass half empty song became a glass half full song and just really brought a lot of life and a lot of joy to the middle of a film that really needed it at that time.
I just sing and then write down what I've sung afterwards. And, you know, sometimes you hit it and sometimes you don't. And if you don't, you keep going with it.
Phil's one of the great songwriters in the world, and he knows that he's a great songwriter. So if I don't like one particular thing of his, it doesn't change his core belief in his ability. And he says this thing, I'll say, you know, I really don't think that's right. And he goes, I didn't marry the song, I just wrote it.
You know, the songwriting process is, you know, it's not just writing another song, you know, it's a different story. It has to say different things. And every one you've written makes it that much harder for the next one you're going to do.
Phil Collins is one of the best collaborators that we have the joy to work with because the man is unbelievably talented and really prolific.
Oh, I can see. Oh, I can see.
In this particular movie, we wanted him to write the songs. He said, I'd love to write the songs. I had a great experience working with you on Tarzan, but I really want to push myself, and I'd like to write the score. So we decided, let's team in with Mark Mancina, who did the score on Tarzan.
Just those hand drums, Phil, same thing, I guess.
It's all regular bar lengths and there's nothing complicated. You know, I was given a golden opportunity to start writing score by Disney and Chris, you know, and I don't know quite how that came about, but it was something that I'd wanted to do and I was given a golden opportunity.
I thought it was a bribe.
Eh? Money changed hands. But all my loose change.
When we did Tarzan, and he was able to be so close to the scoring process, you know, really be right in the center of it, he got really excited about it, and he really wanted to do it. You know, he wanted to learn about it. So I had no idea what that was going to be like. He's great at writing melodies. He's written arrangements. He's been in one of my favorite bands. But I had no idea really how it was going to be to criticize perhaps something that he's put together, a score cue.
I started to work on the rock painting, you know, in the cave. And I wrote this very kind of busy, now I think about it, but very busy piece of music that was based on various bits of songs from the movie. And I excitedly played it to Mark, you know, who kind of, and it was the right thing to do completely, but it took the wind out of my sails for a while because he basically said, this is okay. This, you don't do that. This is wrong. And this, don't ever do this. And this colour doesn't look good on you at all. And it was totally the right thing to do, and I learned so much from that one phone call.
I just felt like I have to react the way that I best know how. It was a little awkward at first, but it ended up being actually really fun.
We did butt heads with Phil, I think, because early on, and I think a lot of artists do this, where you get so into a culture and into a sound and a feel that we wanted. And we wanted something really very, very ethnic, and I think ultimately too esoteric for what ended up in a final product.
Which sounds better than these ones? They've got more of an edge to them. It's impossible to be completely true to the Native American Indian at the end of the Ice Age. Well, because the instruments just don't sound that good.
Our reluctance to go all the way there was, that is a very limited palette of music. They didn't really have almost any melody instruments. It was primarily drums.
They're kind of pretty lo-fi, you know, so you've got to open up a little bit to take in world instruments.
We've tried to create sort of hybrid sounds where we would take a giant whale drum, which is a metal drum, and then a taiko drum. We are using Hopi instruments and Native American drums. The orchestra's fairly straight ahead. I mean, the orchestra's basically strings and woodwinds and brass and orchestral percussion, but all of the colors around it are sort of these little flavors of hybrid instruments that we've tried to blend into this score.
At the end of the day, you know, when you've got a 45-second cue and you've done it and you're watching the picture and you're sitting in the best studio in probably the world for recording orchestras with some of the best musicians in the world, playing it. And all the things are in the right place and it makes you feel the way it's supposed to make you feel. It's a fantastic feeling, really.
And there is a level of trust, I think, between the three of us that makes you do much better work. This is going to be good. And there's something in our personalities for some reason that's very complementary, where it's not like I have to call Phil and go, I'm worried about Mark, he's, you know, or that sort of stuff that you have in the workplace.
You did a couple of times.
Yeah, well.
We're a good team, I think, now. And it's, you know, when
I hope you can get another job together.
Yeah. We're on the dole now. I mean, we're waiting for the next call.
I need a bit more level of me, actually.
Tarzan, actually, if you look back at it, was a unique movie because Phil's voice sort of really was Tarzan's voice in a sense all the way through, and you could do it that way. It would have not worked as well in this movie. I think the movie itself had needed a sort of more of a diversity of voices.
It kind of evolved which songs Phil sang and which ones he didn't, and we started out really talking on a song-to-song basis and tried to figure out what was best for the movie.
Brother Bear, I let you down.
Phil has a voice that wraps its arms around you, and this song kind of does that. So it just seems like Phil is the singer for that song. It just works.
There's no way out of this dark place. No, no future.
Early on, we felt that we didn't want to open the movie sounding like something that we've heard before.
I think it was Michael Eisner who felt very strongly to have a woman sing the opening track.
Great spirits of all who lived before, take our hands and lead us, fill our hearts and souls with all you know.
Tina Turner just seemed like the right call. So we sent the tapes over, and Phil and Chris and Tina Turner sat down together and recorded it.
I was very excited about it. Song is great, music's wonderful, and it's just a great feeling. And then as I listen more and more, I start to really feel, this is a good song that I can sing. This is a song I want to sing. And I was pleased that I was working with Phil, so I was really thrilled.
And Tina, of course, being the kind of singer, rhythm and blues singer she is, you know, I mean, she just ate it up. So I didn't have any problems with the performance side of it.
We made it! We're here, come on!
Yeah. Welcome was going to be me singing it, and then the idea of having voices for the Bears, not lip sync voices, but the idea that this was the family of the Bears singing. Chris came up with the idea of the Blind Boys of Alabama, and of course by this time I was getting used to the idea that maybe I wasn't going to be singing anything, you know.
Proud of who we are, humble beneath the stars.
It's difficult with Phil because he has this voice that when you put it on a song, it brings a song up just immediately. I mean, he can sing Mary Had a Little Lamb, and his voice brings that song up to a certain level. So it's difficult to not get sold immediately by whatever it may be just because you've got his voice and it's like, it sounds like it's already on the radio.
So come on, welcome to our family.
The Blind Boys I get a kick out of because they're these gentlemen in their late 60s, early 70s who've been singing together since 1939. And that feels cool to me and very Disney-like to work with people who are so pure at what they do. You know, they're great gospel singers and blues singers.
It's a celebration of life.
It just gives the film a wider variety, just like you want to have variety in your casting.
And I think with this, it probably is a good idea that you let the story, okay, you haven't got anything distracting you with this guy's voice, i.e. me. You've got another group of voices that are representing the Bears.
I thought it was a nice song, you know. It's all about family. We here are family, so we can relate to that. And we've been together 60 years. You know we're family.
A celebration of life.
I wrote the song, and I must admit that I've never really written a song like it before. And I don't quite know how it happened, because I mean, obviously working on a computer, you can move things around and try things that you would never do. And you can just try it. You just take these notes and move it there. What does that sound like? Wow, that sounds okay, I'll keep that. You know, and you kind of, it's like painting, you know, you never really know what you've got until you're doing it.
I heard Phil's track, which was already really great, but it just felt like the opportunity to bring the Bulgarian Women's Choir into the film. I've been a fan of theirs for years. I loved their CDs. At the same time, I had met Eddie Jobson, who was our vocal arranger on this project and conductor. And he had worked with them several times, so he was very familiar, and he understood where I was going with it. I could explain to him, what if I translate the song into Eskimo language, into Inuit, and then give that to the Bulgarian women?
And we brought a professor of, from Alaska down who was a native speaker who also spoke very good English. And Mark and I met with her in a conference room one day, and we literally went through line by line, and it took us about 7 or 8 hours. And nobody knows Inuit probably that sees this movie, but it'll feel real to them at least. And they won't even probably know why.
This idea of an Eskimo language being sung by the Bulgarian Women's Choir with a song written by Phil Collins, it's quite a combination. That's when it started to be something that just became magical.
So the end result is we have this nice, musically diverse, rich film now, and it's pretty cool.
I'm proud to have written the songs, you know, and even if it's just a few minutes of music where you catch your breath or you have a little tear and you think, boy, this picture and this music and this sentiment works. It's a very strong feeling.
Wow.
Wow.
Great. Cool.
Wow.
I felt really strongly about telling a really emotional story because I'm a sucker for, you know, emotion, and that's what I want people to feel.
I always wanted a brother.
I think this movie is going to be around for a long time because it has a really deep and really rather simple kind of a message. It has something very basic to say to anybody who sees it. I'm very proud to be associated with it.
I think it can never be too much of introductions to different cultures and spirituality. It can never be enough of it because there are certain people that's asking and looking.
It's got a lot of heart. There's moments where I get, you know, I have to hold back. It's very emotional moments. But I was really very proud of my involvement in it.
There's a real brotherhood that's been formed around the making of this film. All of the problems that we faced as a group, the solution of this film, look at it from another point of view, was the solution to all of our problems in making this film. It's a great lesson in just life.